This is a brief introduction to Total Life Changes, a company that provides products and community that you'll feel. The year was 1994, and Jack Fallon had a vision to help the world. So in 1999, with the help of his best friend John Licari, Total Life Changes was born. So how did it get started? With one product that Jack really believed in, NutriBurst, a multi-liquid vitamin packed with all that and a bag of chips. Well, not the chips, but you get the idea. Fast forward to 2003, and Total Life Changes becomes incorporated. We got busy, real busy. We established TLC World Headquarters in Fairhaven, Michigan. Now we offer 38 products, taking thousands of orders daily.
Thank you for calling Total Life Changes.
And shipping to more than 150 countries across the globe. It doesn't matter what lifestyle you have or diet you're on. TLC's products and community is for everyone. And now you know a little, actually a lot, about Total Life Changes.
And we're live.
All
Hit that,
right.
boys.
I've been working for 3 weeks straight and I haven't even slept yet.
Love that.
Welcome to the Sunday Hustle. Here we go.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Sunday. Today is October 18th. It is a great day today, right, Mr. Licari?
It's an amazing day today. I'm feeling super fantastic.
Yes, sir, you are. Speaking of super fantastic, today is the 21st day of our 21-day challenge. I hope that you stay committed to it because 21 days makes a habit. But we got to go until 90 because 90 days makes it a lifestyle. So we got to push, 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 like you heard in that opening, because your attitude drives your life, right? And it boils down to 70% of those nonverbal actions is what truly makes up our attitude. So that super fantastic challenge that I initialized 21 days ago is really what's going to continue to be positive and strive and change that life. So 90 days, we're on it. I'm with you. I know Mr. Licari's been hearing me say super fantastic every single morning. He's probably getting a little annoyed with me, maybe a little bit. No, I'm just joking. But I promise you it will really change your life for the better, and it's really just going to strive you to become and just live a greater and more positive life. But anyways, continue with that super fantastic challenge. Continuing along with the show, we're going to highlight our fan of the week, and this is Tahirana Tejada. Sorry about my pronunciation. She is coming live from the Dominican Republic. She joined TLC July 16th this year, actually, and she loves tuning into the Sunday Hustle. Thank you, Tahirana, I'm sorry again about the pronunciation, for all your support. And thank you for everyone that continues to join in every single Sunday. I think we had like 220 live consistent viewers last week, John. And, being like the sixth week of the show and just having that consistent fellowship and that consistent following, I don't know, it's really surreal to me. And I know you started your show like about a year and a half ago now, I think.
The Jack and John show, yes.
And then you just recently started your other show 4 months ago, right?
Yeah, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, Thursday Night Live.
Yeah.
Similar numbers though, right? But similar time slot, right? So I'm really late on Thursdays. You're on Sunday when a lot of people like to kind of like sleep in, go to church, maybe, or maybe just sleep in all day, right? But that's impressive that you get when you really stop and think about it. Those repeat people that are just coming back. I really enjoy the show. Right. I'm going to come back. And sometimes those numbers are misleading too because people are busy, right? So, that 200 or that 300 or that 400, you look at them and you're like, oh, it's 300 or 400 people, but it could be 300, but it might be 150 of the same people, but it's 150 of new people, right? And it's kind of like that number fluctuates. And I really kind of don't focus on the numbers as much anymore. I really just am worried about the content.
Yeah.
Right? What we're talking about, how we're making people feel. Is one person smiling on the other end of that broadcast?
It's all that matters.
That's good, man.
Yeah, it really does. But we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people like all of our viewers every single day. So
absolutely.
We do have to recognize them because we're providing the content, right? We were blessed and honored to have this platform, but we're really changing lives around the world. And it starts with our viewers, and it starts with just, everyone that we're touching and everyone that we're continuing to exude our positivity or exude our great messages that we've been so ever blessed to learn, right? And speaking of positivity, speaking of messages, speaking of just sharing, right? And you already heard from him a little bit. He is our Chief Operations Officer here at this amazing company that we call Total Life Changes. Truly the heartbeat, the soul, the one that keeps that CPR going on that heart all day long. Not that we don't have several of those, but really is the one that spearheaded it. Someone that has really grown close to me, someone that I truly every single day look up to, evaluate. How can I change to become better? How can I change to be more follow the path of this amazing and incredible person? And really, I'm nervous a little bit because he's on my show today. But I'm so ever blessed and so ever thankful that he's going to be able to share just a little bit of the amazing things that he has poured into my life and has poured into me becoming the person that I truly am today. So without further ado, it's my honor and it's my pleasure to officially welcome to the Sunday Hustle our Chief Operations Officer here at Total Life Changes, Mr. John Licari. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Evan. Thank you so much. Thanks for that introduction, too. And, I just want you to know that I admire you. I admire what you've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time. And I'm excited about your future. And that's really kind of, you're a good example of really I've transitioned in my life to a new goal, which is really pouring into young people if I can. Until I get old enough to where people are like, hey, this guy's too old. I don't want to hear from this guy anymore. But, while I'm still relatively young, I would love to pour into young people and just really explain like, hey, you know what? I've made a lot of mistakes and here's what I've learned during that process. And if I can make your life a little bit easier, if I could, fast forward your success by a year or by 5 years, right? I know what a world of difference that'll make in your life. So this is great for me to really be transitioning into this part of my life where I've really kind of focused on that. And you're one of those people, and I just want you to know that I admire you.
Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot.
I think, and people impress me all the time, right? They build a good business, they have a great family or something, but for me to admire someone, they've got to touch my soul. You know what I'm saying? So just want you to know I admire you. So I don't know if that makes you more nervous or not, but please don't be nervous.
Well, thank you, sir.
For sure.
I appreciate that. That really means a lot to me, right? And you touched on it, making mistakes. You want to just make young people's lives easier, and that was the concept of the show. It really was of me being able to, at 20 years old, I'm 20 years younger than you, a little bit.
25, but who's counting?
Just to pour everything that I've learned from you into my viewers, into the concept of the Sunday Hustle, into the, we're here to motivate and inspire young people, right? People in Generation Z and people in the millennial generation, but just beyond that, right? Because there's, when you get to the leadership cap of just understanding that you can learn from everyone, it truly will change your life, right? Whether learning from a 20-year-old or learning from a 45-year-old or learning from an 85-year-old, it really just, when you're at that level, when you understand that, you really just begin to form yourself into the person, that you truly are meant to be, right?
That's a great topic, honestly. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short in life is really not keeping that learner's mentality, right? And you see it all the time. You see people succeed, or you see people, maybe, reach a milestone, maybe they get married or something, and they kind of sort of think they've got it all figured out, right? And, their mind goes on, vacation, on pause, right? They hit pause and it's kind of, I'm married already, so I can kind of, I can gain a little bit of weight, or, I've already succeeded at that business, so, I can start relaxing a little more. And it's kind of like, no, you can't let that ego get in the way. You have to continually learn. And I think, the hardest part for, maybe people in my age group is even learning from people that are younger than you. I've had experiences, so I can share those, but you know what? There's 20-year-olds out there that have had experiences that I haven't had. I can learn from them. And I think that when you keep that open-mindedness, you can really find true happiness and success in life.
Yeah, and I really think that kind of transitions into a great topic of one of my biggest key takeaways that you've always taught me, and that was being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? So why don't you highlight a little bit about that for us? Why is it so important to allowing yourself to be comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Well, it's important because, I believe that if you are comfortable, your life is going to become uncomfortable, right? So it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, what do you mean? Well, I think, you say to yourself, I want to make $1 million, or, hey, I want to open a business and be successful, or I want to be famous, right? Or I want to get married, or whatever is that milestone that you want to achieve, right? I want to have kids. And it's kind of like you get there, and then it's like, okay, cool, I'm here, now I can relax, right? And then you start to live life, and you start to realize, like, okay, every time I reach that goal and I relax, my life actually doesn't improve at that point. It starts to regress, right? And that's because we constantly need that next goal, right? Goals are awesome, and you should set them, and they should be short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. But what I've learned in my experiences is once you hit that goal, you need another goal, right? And if you don't have that, you're going to start to get comfortable. If you're going to start to get comfortable, you're going to start to get lazy. You're going to start to sleep in a little longer. You're going to start being mean to people. Just all of these things that kind of start to snowball and spiral out of control. And then you wake up one day and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why ain't I, feeling my best? Why am I not operating at the highest, most optimum level? It's because you've allowed yourself to get too comfortable. And so if you can master being slightly uncomfortable over a long period of time, you look back 6, 12, and 18 months later, and you're like, this situation used to make me very uncomfortable. Now it's like no big deal, right? It's kind of like working out, right? So, you can sit there on the treadmill and do 4 miles an hour, walk for 30 minutes, right? You can do that for like a year. You're not really going anywhere. Right. You know what I mean? Like you need to inch that up a little bit, right? 4.2 for 30 minutes and 4.4, right? Just slightly uncomfortable. And then that slight uncomfortableness becomes comfortable eventually, right?
Right.
But then you got to increase that again.
You got to continue to set it.
And that, I think, is, where you start that path of, achieving goals, setting goals, achieving them, but then knowing in your mind, okay, this is cool. I'm going to enjoy this. Let's go out and celebrate, maybe drink a glass of champagne or something, but it's time for the next goal, right? And you always got to keep on driving, because I just feel like if you don't have that purpose, if you don't have that goal, if you don't have that laser focus on, hey, I'm trying to achieve this, when you don't have that, you're kind of like wandering around, right? Like when a plane takes off from the airport, right? Like a lot of people don't know this, right? We're back there, and the flight attendant's telling you, hey, sit down and put your seatbelt on, and they're doing all those weird calls over the speaker, right? And you're like, what does all that mean? But in the cockpit, they're telling the computer, like, hey, here's the airport that we're going to, right? And then the computer kind of knows, like, okay, cool, here's where the clouds are, and here's where the storms are, and we're gonna go this way, right? If the pilot didn't do that, we would be taking off, and we'd kind of just be wandering around, right? So you got to have that, like, that goal, that focus of, hey, here's where we're going, and be able to, clearly focus on it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Setting goals, right? And Coach D talked about 2 weeks ago, you can't set a goal that, well, you can, right? You can set a goal that's unachievable, and that's what we classify more as like a long-term goal, right? But you have to continue to set those goals that are, I can achieve this, and then I'm going to achieve this next, right? But, I think you touched on it perfectly. Like, you achieve a goal, and a lot of us are like, yay, we made it, we're there, like, let's relax, let's go on vacation, let's enjoy it. But then we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 12 years down the road, right? We have to continue to set those goals, and then continue to push ourselves to be better, right? Push ourselves to get more uncomfortable, and push ourselves to being comfortable with a new level of uncomfortability, right? Even if that's a word, I don't know.
Well, we can make it a word, because it's TLC, and we do whatever we want, and that's what's cool about what we do. But even I think for your young viewers, and hopefully we have some young viewers with us today, I think the most important thing is for you guys and girls to realize, like, life's not all what you see on social media, right? And what's been glamorized around us. Like, even if you look at someone like, the Kardashians, let's say, okay, and I don't follow them, but of course I know them, I hear about them all the time, right? But a lot of people think like, oh man, they've got it made, man. They lay around by the pool all day, and they're making all kinds of money. There's stuff going on there that you don't see. They're still going to meetings. They're still traveling. They got to go to promotional events, and they got to do photo shoots. And sometimes they don't feel like doing it, right? And I'm not saying that their life is terrible. It's not. But what I'm saying is there's more to it. Like, they have to keep going. Yeah. It's very few people that just make it big at 27 years old and say, hey, I'm gonna go live on an island the rest of my life and kind of like just relax. it just doesn't work that way. You start to wither away. It's like the human body needs this purpose. It needs this kind of like list of things to accomplish every day. And unless we do that, we just end up every single day at the end of the day feeling unfulfilled. And eventually you start to realize like, wow, man, there's like, I don't feel physically good because I didn't accomplish something mentally, right? Or I don't feel mentally good because I didn't accomplish something physically. And that mind, body, and spirit connection, when you figure that out, you figure out that you need that balance in your life, right? You kind of have to have it all.
Right. And I think you touched on something that is also a very big issue, that not a very big issue, but something that we like as humans tend to struggle with, right? We look on social media, we see our famous stars or the people that we look up to, for say, and they live this glamorous life, or they're out by the pool. But I also think some people strive for that, right? They strive to live that life in relaxation and in the sun. But you touched on purpose and passion and waking up and feeling accomplished. And a lot of us struggle with, I think, that feeling of feeling accomplished, right? Or in a young age, you might be in school and you don't know what you want to do for the next 80 years of your life. Or you might be finishing high school and you might necessarily not want to go to college because you're more passionate about cutting hair, or you're more passionate about going and pursuing a trade. Can you touch on that a little bit, like about how important it is to truly follow and find your passion and go forth from there?
Absolutely. And this might be, there may be some parents watching, and they might not approve this message. But I'm passionate about it, and I think that I think it's time for us to have this discussion on a broader scale. And I'm not talking just me and you. I think that this discussion needs to happen more often. I feel education is very important. Absolutely. I feel on-the-job education is important. I feel in the classroom education is very, very important. I think whenever you can educate yourself and learn, it's always going to be valuable. And one thing they can never take away from you is the stuff that's in here, right? So you can lose all your money, but if you've still got the knowledge, you're good, right? But I think, right now, especially right now, I just think we've gotten to the point where things have gotten a little bit out of control financially in our education system. To me, I'm a life math major, right? And, to me, the math doesn't make sense sometimes, right? Now, please don't misunderstand, either you or anybody watching or any parents watching. I do not advocate to not go to college, okay? I don't advocate that unless there's a good reason, right? Like you're really passionate about a certain trade, or like you said, maybe you want to cut hair, or maybe you've always been fascinated with electrical work and you want to be an electrician, and that's great, right? But I think if you want to be, an architect, or you want to be a nurse, a doctor, right? I think you really need to take a second look at, do I really need to spend, $60,000 a year for that degree, or can I maybe go to community college for 2 years, save a bunch of money, and then go to another school that's highly rated, but maybe doesn't have that clout, right? And maybe it's only $20,000 a year, and maybe you're eligible for some grants at that school, so maybe you're only paying 10, right? And the reason why I say that is because, first of all, if you ask around, many, many people who are working today at whatever job or vocation that they've ended up falling into, many of them didn't go to school for that. Right? So some of them spent, $200,000 for that degree, or $80,000 for that degree, and then they're not even using it, right? Like I have a relative myself who went to school for engineering and realized that, real estate was their passion, right? Well, they could have took a couple real estate classes, got their license, and saved 6 years of time and a whole lot of money, right? But of course, we don't always know that, right? And I think that, let's start right there. I think the number one pressure with kids nowadays, 15, 16, 17, as parents and all of us other adults around them are constantly asking them, what do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What job do you want to have? What state do you want to live in? And I think we're saying it so much that we're basically giving that message to our young kids nowadays, like, you need to have it all figured out by 18, right? And I don't think that's good information anymore, right? I think it's kind of like, hey, what are you passionate about right now, right? And it's like, oh, I love school. I love learning. Cool. Keep on going to school, right? Or maybe, I'm really, really interested in heating and cooling. I think it's cool, man. The air conditioner comes on when it's hot, and cool, man. Like, maybe you should look into maybe taking, some heating and cooling classes and maybe possibly becoming licensed at that. Because you know what? We need that too. The world needs that.
Right.
And I think that we have a gift, all of us inside of us, right? And I think that sometimes our parents or our school teachers or our guidance counselors tell us, hey, here's what your gift is, go and do this. But, I don't think they really know what our gift is. We know what our gift is, right? What are we doing that comes to us naturally with the least amount of effort, right? If you can find a job, a vocation, a purpose to where you can go be yourself and make money doing it, or go be yourself and maybe you don't make a lot of money doing it, that's cool too. But I tell you what, it'll come.
Yeah.
Right? It'll come in so many different ways. In your health, it'll come. Right? You're gonna go get up every day, go do something that you enjoy doing. If you love, being a personal trainer, and maybe you're not making a lot of money doing it, but you love helping people have a healthy body, feel good about themselves, and all that stuff, go do it, man. Because you're gonna feel fulfilled every single day, right? You're gonna have people thanking you and hugging you and saying, hey, you know what? I had no self-esteem, and you helped me lose 20 pounds, and I never thought I was gonna, get to this fitness level, but you made me feel uncomfortable every day, and now I feel comfortable, right? So, but getting back to the finances, I think that we really need to take a good look nowadays as a young generation and say, okay, this degree is gonna cost me X amount of dollars, and am I willing to put myself in that sort of financial hole? Because I think, especially young people, we're really not teaching anybody financial information until they figure it out on their own. And a lot of times it's too late, right? And I'll just use some easy numbers because I think this is important for kids, especially. You go away to school and you go to a good state college and maybe it's $25,000 a year and you don't really have a lot of money and you haven't qualified for anything, so you're just going to go ahead and just finance it all, right? You're gonna get some student loans, and it sounds great, right? And you're told if you do this, you're gonna get a job when you're done for $50,000 a year, right? So the immature mind is already thinking to themselves, okay, cool, I can go to school, I can party. I can get that $100,000 degree, and then I'll have that $50,000 job after, right? And in a couple years I'll have that paid off. Well, it just doesn't work that way,
right?
As a matter of fact, it doesn't work that way at all. Okay, because number one, the $100,000 in debt is going to have some interest tied to it.
Yes, sir.
And the longer it takes you to pay that off, the more you're going to pay. I mean, that $100,000 can turn into $200,000, $250,000, and even $300,000 if you don't start paying it down, right? And then that $50,000 a year job that you may or may not get and may not like, by the way, you got taxes coming out of that, right? So now you're already down to like 40 or less, right? And then you got living expenses, right? You're probably not living with mom and dad anymore, so there's an apartment, there's a car, right? Maybe you live in the city, so you need Uber. Guess what? That's an expense too, right? You get all these expenses, right? I mean, I think everybody has a cell phone nowadays, right? So that's another expense. That's $100 a month. So you start tallying all that stuff up, and you start thinking to yourself, okay, so if I make $50,000 a year and I eat ramen noodles every day, I still can only pay like $5,000 a year towards this debt, right? Now, that's already bad, right? Now, guess what? You just met someone, a guy or a girl, and you're like, hey, they're kind of cool, and I don't want to lose them, so I'm going to get engaged because I don't want them being with anybody else. And then you get married, and then you have kids, and then you need 2 cars and diapers and a house, and then you're like, whoa. You wake up at 45 years old, and you're like, I still owe $200,000 in student loan debt, and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, even though I am busting my butt every day, right? And it's kind of like, you say like, where did I go wrong, right? And it's kind of like, well, you've been guided in this direction to a certain extent, right? So my theory is let's give the information so people know what they're getting into, and then they can also use that information to realize like, hey, your credit score, don't destroy it, right? You need a little bit of money in the bank too. You can't just have a good credit score and think everything's gonna be great. No, you need a good credit score. You need money for a down payment if you want some things, right? Even if you want a car, right? You can have, $10,000 in the bank and you say, I want to go buy a nice car. I deserve it. I've been working hard. And you go there and they're like, yeah, your credit's really bad. Like, we can't really give you the other 30 you need for this car, right? And I think that sometimes we don't learn that information until it's too late, right? And I think we really need to fast forward that information into the into the minds of, 14, 16, and 18-year-old kids and let them know, like, hey, here's what it's going to be like when you make it out to the real world.
And I love that. And I think, you've taught me so many things in life, and things that, help me on the day-to-day basis, and things that will help me in 40 years down the road, and I don't even know it yet. But I really think that message just brings light to that misunderstanding, to that unknowing part of life, right? Go to college, do this, invest in this, you'll have fun, you'll have a family, and then you wake up at 45 years old and it's too late. Not too late in life, but it's too late to not get out of debt, right? It's too late to, do some things that you might want to do. And I really think that was another reason why I started this show, right? To bring light onto those situations, to bring light to that, and to just say, sometimes there's other people in your lives that could guide you in a way that you might not think about, right? In a way that your parents might not tell you, in a way that your teachers or your guidance counselors might tell you, in a way that your friends, the people that are your closest, right? Closer than your family, might not guide you and tell you because they simply don't know, right? So bringing that all together and understanding that mindset and that financial freedom, I think comes in this great lesson that you've also taught me. I feel like I'm just, you taught me. Well, you truly have. But that third influence, right? That third person in our life that's truly steering us, right? That third person, whether it's good or bad, positive or negative, they're really the ones driving our lives, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But I realized it when you brought it to my attention, right? I'm an amazing father, and I have an amazing mother, right? And they've taught me everything that I need to know about life, or that they know that they can teach me, right? But there's also some things that you just don't know. There's things that you haven't experienced. There's things that you haven't gone through life and got those, you made the mistakes, or you haven't made the mistakes. But I think my third influence is you, Mr. Licari.
Wow,
You've taught me some financial mindset. You've taught me some life skills. You taught me how to live a positive life and how to pursue positivity and what that really does to the direction of your life. So can you talk to our viewers, can you talk to our hustlers that are out there listening about that third influence and what it really does for you?
Absolutely. I think that this topic is near and dear to me because, I really reflected back on my life, especially the last 5 or 10 years, right? And kind of like the path that my life took. And I wish that it would have took some different paths a little earlier, and I would have, said yes or been exposed to stuff earlier, or not been so stubborn and hard-headed and closed-minded, right? But I'm at peace with, I'm glad everything happened the way it happened because I'm here with you today, right? So I think that's important too. Looking back just makes your neck hurt, right? So you got to keep on looking forward, right? But I stole that from Gary Vee, by the way. I love Gary. So, because it does, right? You can't always look back. I mean, you can look back and learn from it, but I'd rather let me look back and give that information to you so you don't have to go through the same things. But as humans, we still have to kind of make our own mistakes sometimes. But the third influence is something that I am just really passionate about. I plan on writing a book about it one day. I plan on touring and speaking about it one day because I feel it's so important and so powerful because I've had this experience too. I know your mom. I know your dad very well. They're great people.
They are.
Right? But even if they give you the same exact information that I'm giving you, you're not going to suck it in and interpret it the same. To you, it's like mom and dad, they don't want me to have fun. They're trying to, control me. They're trying to live their life through me or whatever, right? So, and I'm aware of that because that was me too, right? So my mom and my dad were my first and second influence, right? But then when I looked back, I realized so we need that third person, right? That third entity, that third human being, maybe it's your school, whatever it is, that third thing that's really going to influence us, right? So first we respect that person or that thing, and then once that happens, we start listening with a different ear to them, right? So as I look back on my life, I realized my mom and dad taught me just an amazing work ethic, right? I mean, they're always asking me, hey, what's going on? You don't got nothing to do? We'll find you something to do, right? So I developed this work ethic that was just off the charts, right? So I've always had that, right? And, they always told me, hey, be respectful. Don't embarrass the family, be kind to people, right? So they taught me all of that stuff, right? But I needed a third influence to really teach me about personal development and growing as a person and being open-minded and exposing yourself to the rest of the world's ideas and opinions and seeing what kind of you like. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So when I realized and I look back, I'm like, my third influence, as it changed, my life always changed. Right? So my first third influence was my friends. Right? I've said this before, and it's terrible that I'm even admitting this, but maybe someone will learn from it. So, my third influence was my friends, right? It got me into a life where at a young age I smoked cigarettes, right? Why? Because the influence was like, hey, you should smoke cigarettes, you can look cool like us, and this is what we do, right? And like all my friends that I was hanging out with, they weren't good students. I knew that I could have been just a straight A student, or at least a straight A student in most classes. But that was going to make me not, be cool, right? So that third influence that I had at that time kind of like taught me to just fit in, man. Just be average. Be like them. Be the average of the people that you're hanging around with, right? And it really held me back. And I look back on it, and what a waste it was, right? But when I did look back on it, I realized how powerful is that? That third influence really dictated everything I was going to do, right? And then as I ventured and I got a little bit older, right, I met someone, one of my first mentors, actually, he doesn't even know that he was a mentor of mine. His name is Sam Badalamenti. And he was one of my first managers at a fruit market that I worked at. And he just grabbed me like by the shoulder one day and he said, you've got a bright future ahead of you, but you got to change some things about you. These kids you're hanging around with, and these people that you're talking to, and you're a smart kid, right? So what I learned was like, not only was he a third influence, but he believed in me, right? So that was the first time someone got in front of me and said, hey, what are you doing? Like, I believe in you. Like, you're way underperforming, right? Like, yeah, you've got a nice car and you've got a girlfriend, but so what? Like, that's not what life is all about, right? Like, you could be something special, like, I'm telling you, like, or you could not. And that really caught my attention. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he was like, I'm telling you, like, and he would tell me share with me his story that he had, success early on, but he threw it all away because of his third influence was so bad, right? And that really kind of like was a turning point in my life where I transitioned from working hard, having money, and thinking that I had it all to realizing like I don't have anything. Like I got a long way to go, right? And then the rest is history because a couple years later, I started at Ford Motor Company in the assembly line. I met Jack Fallon, and that really started a new third influence for me of love, respect, patience, persistence. Right now, that's what I was surrounded with Jack, and he opened my mind finally after 9 years of just pestering me. To personal development, open-mindedness, reading books, surrounding yourself with people. The average of the 5 people you hang around with is basically who you become, right? And so he became my third influence. And then TLC became my third influence, right? And now this platform that we have, it's been such an influence to me, the decisions I make every day, the preparation I do every morning for my day, even trying to stay healthy, right? It's all based on this third influence that I have right now beyond my mom and my dad. And I'm 45 years old. My mom and my dad still influence me to this day. They do, right? But I still have a third influence that's constantly influencing me. And I think when you realize how powerful that third influence is, you've got to respect that and you got to figure out a way to make that number 3 the most important decision in your life.
Yeah, and I think what you touched on as well is that third influence changed throughout your life, right? Originally, it was your friends. Originally, it was Sam Badalamenti from the fruit market. By the way, Mr. Italian, Mr. Licari is 100% Italian, if you couldn't tell. He loves to tell his Italian jokes.
Italian-American.
Yeah, Italian-American. Okay. He loves to signify that he is an American as well. Yes. It's very important to him. Anyways, where I was going with that is that it can change over your life, right?
Yeah.
It can, what you might think now is your third influence or your third mentorship or your third sphere in your life might be different in 10 years. But the thing is, it can change for the good, right? It always has. I feel like mine has. Like my first influence changed to a great second influence, right? But it can also change for the bad, right? We can become in our ways. We can be stuck in our mindset. We can think that we've made it. We can stay being comfortable. And that third influence can turn into something, and it could affect us like Sam 40
Yes.
years later in life, and you know, in a very negative way. Right?
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the most powerful point of that is that, you know, take a look at what is your third influence beyond your mom and dad. You know, maybe you don't have a dad at home or a mom at home. Maybe it's your mom and your grandma.
Right.
What is that number 3, right? It could impact you negatively. It has me many times, right? But then as I grew, matured, learned from my mistakes, started to surround myself with people that were making me better as opposed to telling me it was okay to be less. You know, I started to challenge myself and I wanted to become better. And then, you know, you start seeking those people out eventually.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if I can give advice to people today, or to young kids especially, is, you know, one of the most powerful things you really have to remember is, what do you want to do? What does success mean to you? Does it mean money? Does it mean money and family and happiness? You know, whatever it means. And I'll be honest with you, like I'm telling you right now, please remember this. You know, I don't care how old you are. If you know a guy or a girl who makes $45,000 a year, they've got 2 cars, they coach their kids' soccer team in the afternoons, and they're just smiling from ear to ear every single day and loving life, I envy that person.
Absolutely.
Right? That's success to me.
Mm-hmm.
That person has found a level of success that most millionaires never find.
Right.
Right? So, like, it's okay, right, to not have a drop-top Mercedes-Benz and a huge mansion because you saw it on MTV Cribs. I don't even know if that show's around anymore, right? It's okay, right? Because those people aren't always as happy as you think they are.
Right.
You know? So I think that that third influence is huge, and hopefully over the next couple of years we can figure out, or I can figure out how to articulate that a little better and put that on paper.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the meantime, we're just throwing it out there. Like take a good inventory of that third influence.
Yeah.
And figure out, like, how are they influencing me? You know, are they making me better or worse? And at the end of the day, I mean, relatives, moms, dads, right, uncles, cousins, right? It's like we only listen to so much of
Right.
what they're telling us because we just assume in our human mind, like, well, they're just telling me that because, you know, they're my mom and my dad, or they're, you know, and that's why you need that third influence.
I love it.
Yeah.
I really do love it. And I
Cool.
think you're doing a great job at cultivating that concept and really explaining it. I mean, I don't know how much more you personally want to work on before you start writing your book or before you start talking about it more in depth. But copywriting it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
No, just joking. You're not the one person you're not the type of person to do that because you believe and you love all. And, you know,
For sure.
you're just here to make people's lives better,
Yeah.
better and truly just explain your life experiences and how you can transition into young people, old people, middle-aged people, females, males, whatever the type of person may be. And I really think that's what I aspire to be, right? I aspire to change people's lives through my words, through my actions, through my experiences.
Yeah.
And I really think that's what you're doing, right? You're up here talking in front of a camera, right? You're up here talking to viewers on Facebook or on YouTube. But I don't know if you realize it, but I definitely realize it myself, that you're changing people's lives with just your words, right? Of course, you're giving us actions of how to do that because you're human and you understand that. You can't just go out there and be positive, or you can't just go out there and find your third influence, right? But I think you're doing an incredible job at that and truly changing people's lives and inspiring them to become better versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's always been a goal of yours.
Yeah.
To truly do that.
Well, and I think when you're fixated on something like I am with this third influence, I realize that the 450 employees, for instance, that we have in this building,
Yeah,
we could be a third influence to them.
absolutely.
They could or could not see it, right? Maybe they understand it. Maybe they think we are. Maybe, you know, but regardless, if there's one person in here that can benefit from us being their third influence, I'm going to go around and be passionate. I'm going to walk around this building as many times as I can throughout the week and do message of the day and, you know, dance when they're playing music out there in the shipping department or whatever I can do. Maybe because, like you said, like, do I realize that I'm helping people or making people have a better life? You know, sometimes I have to sit back and reflect that, and I get messages and emails all the time that kind of remind me of that. But, you know, it can be as simple as just, did you help someone smile today?
Yeah.
That could change the course of the rest of their day. I mean, sometimes we don't realize that, right? You help someone smile at 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, that could change the rest of their day, which could change the rest of their week, which could change the rest of their month, and so on and so forth, right? And then you start to realize, like, wow, we have a responsibility to kind of make this planet inhabitable, right? Not just physically, but mentally, right? And I think that, I take that challenge to heart every single day, and I realize, and I know you've said this on the show before, because we talk about it all the time, when you become put into a leadership position like I have been put into, you realize that your attitude really is kind of like going to be reflected among all the people that are following you, right? So if I don't have any passion, I can't expect anybody to have passion about TLC or The Third Influence or Evan Brinkman or anybody, right? So it's kind of like, for me, I know that, like, but it's not, but here's the thing, and I think this really is so important, right? But I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about TLC. I'm passionate about helping people, right? So I'm not faking the passion to get you to be passionate, right? I'm not selling used cars here. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not painting this great picture to you, right? Well, what I'm doing is I'm just conveying my true natural, emotions, and then people feed off of that. Right. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. And you talked about being a leader, right? And probably some people are like, I'm not a leader. I don't work in this big company called Total Life Changes, But you're a leader in your household. You're a leader in life. You're a leader of your friend group. You truly are a leader. Everyone is a leader, and we don't realize how many people look up to us and how many people respect that part of us. So I think it's a great idea and a great concept that you truly have brought to life and brought to the world. But one thing that I want to pull out from everything that you were saying was responsibility, right? Yeah. It's our responsibility to lead with a positive attitude. It's our responsibility to affect those 5 people that are around us to become more positive or to become greater versions of themselves, whether it's our kids, our family members, our friends, whatever the case may be. But we also have a responsibility to ourselves, right? We have a responsibility to, making those healthy life decisions, eating healthier, right? Reading books to grow our mental mindset, or listening to people like yourself who have had the experience to become, a better version, right? To truly help change others. So you talked about how you can have one car, one life, and one body. Can you highlight a little bit about that concept for our viewers?
This is huge, and this, and I'm going to give credit to Warren Buffett, because he's a pretty smart guy. He's lived a long life. He's still the same Warren Buffett, right? If you don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's one of the best investors of all time. He's just, but he's still a really good, humble man. Still goes to McDonald's every morning, gets his Egg McMuffin, comes to his office, works all day long, goes home, still lives in the same house, and he's just a great person. And he was talking about one day something that you guys can look up maybe later on YouTube or something that really was like, yes, I've always agreed with what he was saying, but the analogy he used, I think, is perfect, especially for someone who's young. So I've been using it a lot, the last several years. And what he was talking about was, that you're only going to get one life and one body and one brain, right? And so he pitched it as an analogy of, if I told you right now, you could have any car you want, I'll buy it for you. But it has to last you the rest of your life, right? So a lot of people right away are like, okay, should I get a 4x4? Should I get a Corvette? If I have kids, they won't be able to fit in there, right? So, we're kind of thinking of that, but that wasn't his point. His point was, okay, it doesn't matter what the car is, but when it arrives at your front door and you realize this is the only one you're going to get, you can't even go make your own money and get another car. That's against the rules. You have to drive this one for the rest of your life, right? How would you treat that car, right? You're probably going to put the best gas in it, right? Right? I mean, I'm just going to say, like, when I was young, I never used 93 octane, right? I was like, that's too much money, right? But, like, if that was the case, you would use that 93 octane, right? You would get that oil changed every 3,000 miles, not 3,000-ish or 5,000-ish, right? You'd get that oil changed all the time. You would put the best gas in it. You get the tires rotated, right? You would have them inspect underneath and make sure nothing's loose, right? You'd rust proof it. You know, you'd put Armor All on the dash so the sun doesn't damage the instrument panel, right? You would do all these things, right? Why? Because that thing's gonna last forever, right? But what about you?
Right.
What about your mind, your body? It's got to last forever.
Truly does.
You know? So, alcohol should be in moderation, right? Explicit music, it's entering your brain. It should be in moderation, right? Or maybe try to eliminate it if you can. Negativity, right? Is that what you're putting in your car, AKA your body, right? Your mind? And I think when you realize that, it's like, wow, man, like, I don't really like have a lot of time here, and this is the only body and the only chance I'm gonna get. And so maybe I need to, eat 2 pieces of pizza instead of 6. Maybe I need to start hanging around some positive people who lift me up, as opposed to these people who make me feel down and depressed all the time. And maybe I need to read books and open my mind and personally develop. And the most important thing is, who do you want to be? Gravitate towards those people and hang around them and ask them how they did it and learn and listen and say, you know what, like, this is who I want to be. This guy or girl is successful and they're a C-level and they're married and they've got a family and they seem like they're happy. I'm going to go hang out with them and see kind of what I can learn from them, right? Because that's who I want to be, right? Sometimes we're spending time with people that have not been successful, don't have it figured out, have a lot of growing to do, and that's who we're spending most of our time with. Well, guess what? I mean, we're asking those same people, hey, how should I start a business? Hey, how should I get married? Hey, what should I do for my retirement? Well, they don't know.
Right.
You shouldn't be asking them.
Right.
You should go ask the people that have achieved that, and have been successful at it.
I love that message.
Yeah.
The whole car analogy, and as you're even reiterating it now, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have had that pizza last night. No, I'm just joking. But it boils down to, you only have one life, one body, one mind, and it's really you're the only one that can control it. There's no one.
100%.
There's no one out there that's telling you what to eat every day or monitoring you. Maybe you got parents, or maybe you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend that might help with that, but it really boils down to you making those own decisions. And that car analogy is just perfect, right? It really just brings everything into light. Like, wow, I really do need to put the best gas in my body. I really do need to make sure my oil's changed every 3,000 miles. I really do need to make sure that I'm rotating my tires. And it all circles back into this concept that Mr. Fallon talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago, about the mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. Right? That's our oil change, our tire rotation, and our gas, right? The mind, body, and spirit. Whatever type of different analogy you want to use, it's a synergy. It's all connected. When one's low, the other two are going to be down. But when one's high, it's going to help lift up the other two, right? So it's really such a synergistic connection, and it's so important that we're continuing to monitor our mind, our body, and our spirit. I really think it's crazy when you realize it. It's crazy how closely connected they truly are.
It's huge, and I think that if you start to be cognizant of it, if you start to really pay attention to it, right? And I already knew it. I already learned it. Me and Jack have been talking about it for years. We've shared the Moses Code book with millions of people because it talks about it in there. But I still struggle with it, right? Like, and I actually told this story the other day, really in this building, to some people. 4 months ago I had a knee injury. 2 months ago I had knee surgery, and so physically my body was in a state where it wasn't at an optimum level, right? I couldn't even walk for several weeks, and then so my body obviously deteriorated. I gained some weight, but then what happened? The inevitable happened, right? That transition from my body to my mind. I got depressed, right? I didn't like the way I looked. I was feeling like crap, right? And then, then I started skipping church because I was like just not feeling it, right? And so now, holy crap, like this one facet of my life, the body, just ended up affecting everything, right? And it's just like, And then one day you're like, hold on a minute, man. If I want to fix my body, I got to fix my mind, right? If I want to fix my mind, I got to fix my spirit, right? I'm going to go volunteer and I'm going to go give back to a charity or something, and I'm going to go to church, right? And that will help my body feel better, right? But we don't usually think that way, right? But when you understand that connection, you're like, okay, let me reevaluate all those three facets of my life, because if one of them is failing, it's only a matter of time before it affects the other two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the man, the myth, the legend himself. I was able to secure 40 minutes with him. My mentor, Chief Operations Officer here at Total Life Changes, Mr. John Licari. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart and from all of our viewers that are out there watching. Thank you for everything that you poured into us today.
100%.
Thank you for sharing your experiences, your life, that you've gone through, with us to become better versions of ourselves. And that's the whole point of the Sunday Hustle, right? Not waiting for tomorrow to do something, but starting today, starting to make the change right here, right now. And I really think you shared so much with us that we're going to go home, do our homework, and we're going to report back to you how our mind, body, and spirit are doing and how we're changing and how we're truly, steering the direction of this country and steering the direction of the world. Because that's what we're doing.
I love it, man. Just, if there's a reminder I can give, though, baby steps. You don't have to do this in 1 month or 1 year. You just try to improve every day. And you're going to have some bad days, and you're going to regress once in a while. The most important thing is just keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Right? Just keep on looking for those answers. And, we talked about family a lot today on the show and the third influence and all that stuff. And, one thing that I can say as we go away to everybody, and this one's tough because this doesn't involve family and friends sometimes, what I'm about to say. And I love it because as I was reading the meaning of hustle in the pre-production meeting that we had, you have it there. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. It absolutely does. Right. But what I have found sometimes in life, if you really want to find the success that your heart desires, right? So I think sometimes like your mom and dad want you to be like an architect, or, your girlfriend wishes that you could be a nurse because she's trying to be a nurse, and maybe you can one day work in the same hospital, right? So, it's kind of like you have these dreams that other people have for you, right? But what's your dream? What do you want to be, right? And sometimes you realize, like, at least I've realized, if you want to have success at your dream, what you want to achieve, it takes these three things. Perspiration, number one. That's hard work. It's going to take hard work, right? You got a dream? Perspiration. Work hard. But these other two are huge, and they're hard. And sometimes people's feelings get hurt. But the next two are separation and isolation. You got to work hard. You got to separate yourself from the people that are holding you back. And then you got to go isolate yourself and just go. Right? Like just go, right? Because you got people telling you you're never going to achieve it. You got people telling you that you're crazy. You got these people over here giving you these negative vibes, right? And it's kind of like sometimes that's mom and dad. Sometimes that's your brother. Sometimes that's your best friend. Sometimes that's your circle of friends that you're hanging out with, right? And when you realize it's sad, right? It is sad. Right. And I'm not saying you can't love them. You can't call them for Christmas. You can't have them over for dinner. But you need to limit kind of, that type of environment and go be you. Right? Because Mr. Bob Proctor says it the best. If I want to be free, I got to be me. And that's it, man. When you figure that out, you'll have your hustle going every day.
I love it. I love that. If I want to be free, I got to be me. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Transitioning right into the tip of the week, Mr. Licari, I think you kind of just spoke this into existence in talking about doing work that you love or doing work that you care about. So for the first 10 people to comment in the comments, the work that you love or the work that you want to love or the work that you want to continue to care about, tell us what that is, and we're going to give you away a brand new Sunday Hustle hat. And then, Mr. Licari, what kind of product do you want to throw in there?
I think energy.
Energy.
And here's why. You're going to need perspiration, separation, isolation, but you're also going to need focus. I think sometimes we forget that NRG, right? People are like, oh, yeah, it's an energy capsule, right? It's mental clarity, too, man. Yeah. This is the coolest thing. If you're out there drinking Monster and all these other sugary drinks, just give NRG a try. I promise you're going to love it. It'll help you do your homework. It'll help you deal with negative people, and it'll help keep you on track with your daily goals.
Yes, sir. You want a hat, too?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love one.
Here's one.
Yep. Thanks, Evan. Look, I'm even going to mess up my hair for you because I love you.
Yeah.
And I love the
Look
Sunday
at that
hustle.
thing, ladies and gentlemen. It looks great. 24/7, 365. Hustling always, every single day. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Real quick before we head out, I just want to read the feel-good story of the week, and that is called An Act of Kindness at the Car Wash. And it says, and here's the letter. We're at a car wash, so we assume this customer who's moving. Well, we're just at a car wash, so we have to assume this customer who's moving wrote notes like this for multiple local businesses. And that's what they're talking about for this note. And she brought us donuts too. And the note reads, "Thanks for taking such good care of our cars for the past couple of years. We have always counted on you to ensure our cars were clean inside and out. We're going to miss you guys and your hospitality. Thanks again. P.S. Great work during the pandemic." So it's just like that. There's little notes of positivity. There's these little pockets of positivity in such a negative world that we live in, right? And
man.
it just things like the car wash guys. This note is really what's going to change the world, right? And change people's lives.
That right there is one of the most beautiful things you could do.
Right.
Right. And in this world of hate and everyone wanting you to have the exact same opinion as them and wondering what your opinion is, and kind of like we don't really want to listen to each other. We want to scream at each other nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of where we're at, right? And I think love's the only way over that. But look at this person, whether it's a guy or a girl, whatever, that did
Right.
this. Every single day, those employees, if they post that on the wall, are going to be reminded, like, hey, someone was grateful, right? And maybe it helps someone smile. And maybe they forget that they're bending down all day long and putting armor all on the tires, right? I mean, that's beautiful, man. That's what life's all about, man. Like, just helping people, like, make it through the day and having hope, right? I think sometimes people lose hope. They lose everything.
They do.
So
It really does. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it was truly an incredible episode. I know we went long today, but I tell you what, the content that this man had to provide was something off the charts. We're so ever grateful again for you giving us a little bit of your time, a little bit of that
Thanks,
plethora of knowledge that you contain upstairs. And thanks for sporting that hat. It looks great on you.
I love this, man. It feels good, too. Does it look good? All right.
All right. So again, Mr. John Licari, Chief Operations Officer here at Total Life Changes. Thank you so much for joining in this Sunday. We know it surely wasn't easy to give us your time, but we truly, truly appreciate it. And again, just take the tips, the tricks, and everything that he has had to share with us. Take it home, take some notes, think about it, meditate about it. What is your PSI, say that
Perspiration?
word. Perspiration, separation, and isolation.
Perspiration means sweating. You know that, right? Okay.
Right. Yes,
Sure.
yeah. All right. Hustle. We can change it to an H, but PSI, because we're talking about cars, right? And I think that was, you didn't even realize that it connected, but it really did. Tire pressure is what PSI stands for those that don't understand that. What are those? Notify those, signify those, write them down, and just realize that, those are the steps that you can take to change your life for the better.
Yeah.
And we can always say it, and we end every single episode like this at the Sunday Hustle. Please, 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 don't wait for tomorrow, but start today. See you next week. Thank you so much, John, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday.